Hello and welcome to the last video of 2025. This is the 2025 New Year's Eve edition. What I'm going to do today is just give you 4 cocktails that you can use for your New Year's Eve party, and I'll try to make them less carby than what they would otherwise be. Unfortunately, during the holiday season, a lot of the things are going to have a few carbs, but at least we can try to do it with as little as possible. So stay with me as we look at 2025 New Year's Eve cocktails. Hello and welcome back to Ask Alan about low carb cocktails. This is the last episode of the year for 2025, and obviously that means New Year's Eve is approaching. I'll try to release this the day before New Year's Eve just so that you have time to consider whether or not you would want to make these cocktails for New Year's Eve. And we're going to try to the best of our ability to make these with lower carbs. As has been obvious during the holiday season, a lot of the cocktails use things that have a few carbs in them, but at least if we know how many carbs we're getting and we do what we can to decrease the carbs where we can, then that will help us to try to do something without as much carbs and calories. So what we're going to do is start with a citrus spiced old fashioned. Now this uses your favorite bourbon, whatever that happens to be at the time, and I decided that I would go ahead. I've got a second bottle of this, but this is a Pursuit United, and this was a pick by a club that I'm in. So that one's pretty good. And for this one, often we make the old fashions in the old fashioned glass, but this one calls for it to be made in a mixing glass. So we've got that set up. Now let's start off in the mixing glass with the bourbon. And as with all old fashions, they're typically 2 ounces. This is a very good bourbon. This is double oaked. But there's a lot of good whiskeys and bourbons out there. Just get the one that you like best. And then we will add ½ ounce of orange liqueur. Now, as I'd said before, I make my own orange liqueur so that we don't end up with a lot of sugar. And I use either Splenda or allulose when I make this. And it takes a little bit of time, but it's not that hard to do. You can look back at a previous episode, early on in the episodes, and you can see how I make this. But otherwise, something like Cointreau is what I would recommend if you're not worried about the sugars. Triple sec doesn't taste nearly as good. And the way that I made this, I tried to make it as close as I could to Cointreau as possible. 2 dashes of an aromatic, or typically Angostura bitters. And to sweeten up a little bit, we use simple syrup. And again, I make the simple syrup with either Splenda or allulose, depending upon what I have at the time. Allulose is better for you. Splenda is less costly. So with that, it's only a ¼ ounce, which is just a little bit of sweetness. And then we will stir this for about 20 seconds. And then we will strain it into the glass with, and this ice cube, it's got a little bit of frost on it from the freezer, but when that warms up a little bit, it should be relatively clear. And then we take an orange for the just a bit of orange peel. So you want to express this over the glass. You put that orange peel in, a little bit extra orange. Then, just because we have them, I'll add a dehydrated orange slice, and this goes with a cinnamon stick. Of course, that cinnamon stick, as it is in the drink, it will add a little bit more cinnamon taste. But now that is the citrus spice old fashioned. It's pretty good. It's a little bit orangey because of the additional orange from the orange liqueur that's in there, and gives a little bit of the cinnamon taste. Pretty good. So this is one that we will want to try, especially if you don't want a lot of sugars, because there's nothing the way that I made it that has any sugar, because I used all sugar substitutes in the syrups and orange liqueur that I made. So let's set this aside and we'll go to the next cocktail. So the next drink that we want to do is called a pineapple cranberry cooler. This has, in a highball glass is what we'll use, but we mix it in a cocktail shaker. So you put ice in, and on one side, and on the other side is where the mixers are going to go. We will go with 2 ounces of pineapple juice, and I use this light pineapple juice. So for 2 ounces of this, we'll have 3.32 carbs. Two ounces of diet cranberry juice, and the diet cranberry juice has almost no carbs in it. So with 2 ounces of that, we get half of a carb. And this will be a relatively light drink because it only has 1 ounce of rum. Now you can either use a white rum, or in this case, I'm going to use a spiced rum. And this is one that comes from a craft distillery here in Iowa. It's 173 degree distillery. The 173 degrees has something to do with the temperature of alcohol or something when they make it, I think. But that's something that you really want to know, go to their website. But get a good spiced rum. Only 1 ounce of this, so it's not going to be very heavy of a rum taste. Half ounce of lime juice. And a half ounce of simple syrup. And the simple syrup, again, is made with sugar substitute. Then once we do that, we'll shake this for 10 to 15 seconds. Now we will strain that over fresh ice into the highball glass. Just to add a little more volume, we'll put the ice from this in there so it fills the glass. And then We have, for a garnish, it's supposed to be a slice of pineapple, but I just have a small piece, and fresh cranberries. So that's what we use for the garnish, and that is the pineapple cranberry cooler. Very good, sweet tasting, but only about 4 carbs, a little less than 4 carbs, not that much. So this is something that you can definitely have and enjoy, and it tastes really good. It's definitely something that many people would like for New Year's Eve. Not very much alcohol, but great taste. So we'll break for a second here, get things set up, and do the next cocktail. So now I'll break for a moment to mention I've got this shirt on. It's Bourbonado 2025 You Can't Handle the Proof t-shirt. I found this online. I thought it looked great, so I thought I'd go ahead and get this. So just look for it online if you think this is a kind of a nice shirt to have. I kind of think it's something worth having myself. So go ahead and check it out. If I remember, I'll put the a website for the place where you can get it, and go ahead and check these out. I don't know what else they've got. I think they had sell some other things, but this shirt was definitely one you might want to get. So now let's make a gingerbread margarita. This takes gingerbread syrup, and I found this diet zero carb, I believe. Yeah, zero carb Da Vinci gingerbread syrup. So it's the first time I'm trying it in a drink, so we'll see how this tastes. So first you rim a glass, and I used a martini glass, which might end up being a little too big, because that's a pretty good size martini glass. I've got smaller glasses that it would probably fit in better, but this is a fancy margarita glass, so we'll use that. So with ice, we will want to add 2 ounces of tequila, and this is one of my favorite ones. It's not too expensive. Tequila Ocho, usually very well rated, so that's something you might want to try. Then we've got 1 ounce of gingerbread syrup. I'm assuming that this gingerbread syrup will have a very forward taste, so we'll see what it does. 1 ounce of lime. And a 1/2 ounce of orange liqueur. And of course, again, this is the one that I make myself so that I avoid adding any sugars to it. Again, go back to one of the earliest episodes, and I'm showing you there how to make the orange liqueur. So we shake this until chilled. And it says to do this in a glass filled with ice. Usually you don't have ice with a margarita, but we will go ahead and strain it into this, and then we'll put some ice in it, as they do say. It's not going to need a lot of ice, and you usually don't put ice in a margarita, but since they said to, well, just put the ice out of the shaker. And the rim was with you put some lime juice on the edge of the glass, and it wants you to use cinnamon, but cinnamon sugar might be a little sweeter. And I happen to have made before some cinnamon allulose. So it's basically cinnamon sugar, but with allulose instead. And it tastes really good. And I've kept that around, and it works pretty well. So that's all you really need. And you could put just cinnamon, but like I said, I use the cinnamon allulose or cinnamon sugar just for a sweeter taste. And this is the gingerbread margarita. The other part of the garnish is you can garnish it with a gingerbread cookie. I don't have those, so we won't do that. That's quite good. I think that's something you'll like. It's a bit sweet, but it's without any carbs. If you use the no carb syrups and go with the way that I made it. Otherwise, you can get a gingerbread syrup that has sugar in it, and you can get use just regular cinnamon on top on the rim, and then use Cointreau, and you get a little bit of sugar there. But otherwise, the stuff in here is almost no carbs at all. So that's pretty good for those of us who need that. For those of you who don't care, just use the sugary stuff, and this is a good drink. So we will have one more drink, and I'll set this other stuff aside, and we'll make that in just a moment. Okay, so now this last drink is called a wintertime Negroni. It's made in the glass, so I have a glass here. So you don't want as large a glass as the one that I used before, but this uses 1 ounce of London dry gin. Seems like that's a little bit light on the gin, but that's what it calls for. I would normally probably put 2 ounces in, or 1.5 ounces, but we'll go with the recipe that's here. And in this case, Tanqueray gin is what I happen to be using, trying to get rid of the rest of that. Since it's almost empty. And then the two things that have a lot of carbs. And unfortunately, you can't get away from that if you're making this drink. So this is really not low carb, and there's very little I can do to change that. Campari, 1 ounce, and 1 ounce is 7.73 carbs from what I found online. Sweet vermouth, which has for only 1/2 ounce. Dry vermouth has a lot fewer carbs, but sweet vermouth has 4 carbs for 1/2 ounce. And slow gin. Slow gin also has carbs. And for 1/2 ounce of this, we're at 1.5 carb. So, full disclosure, again, this is not low carb at all. We've got 7, 11, 12, 13 and about 13.25 carbs. We'll put a little more ice in there. And that will be garnished with an orange wedge, or in this case, a dehydrated orange. And if you use a wedge, then they want you to stud the wedge with cloves. That'd be a little more fancy, but this is what we got. It's a little quicker, and the garnish doesn't really affect the drink as much. So this is a wintertime Negroni. Definitely has that sour Campari taste, and if you like Negronis, then you'll like this. So definitely another choice for your New Year's Eve party. This one, of course, is not low carb, but it is pretty good, and I think it is something that you'll enjoy. So that was 4 cocktails which we can have on New Year's Eve. 3 of those were very low, almost no carbs in some, but this last one had around 13 carbs. Not a lot, but still something you need to be careful of if you need to be on a low carb diet. If not, then you can make all these with the sugary things, and they might taste a little sweeter, but they'll all taste great. So I hope you enjoyed these. I hope you do check out the description to find the recipes for all of this and maybe a little more information about some things. And I hope that you do come back next year. I'll be doing some interesting things if it all works out. And I do hope that you do join me, and do please like and subscribe and share and comment. Doing all those things does help to get the YouTube to push this out to more people. And I do want to make sure that I can provide this information to as many people as possible. And you can help me do that. And through your comments, you can help me to understand what you liked and didn't like, and would like to see better. And any questions you have, I'll try to answer. I try to get to those. Sometimes it's a while before I get back to them, but I do try to answer everybody's questions and try to respond to everybody. So thank you, and I'm thankful for the number of people who have joined me this year, and I do hope that we even get more people next year and create an even larger community. Be safe on New Year's Eve, and have a great coming year.